More shocking information has been revealed on the Antony case, and it looks like it could be taking a turn of events as well, with information coming out that one of the women that's accused Antony of assault has withdrawn. Now, we know that Antony put out a lot of evidence over the last week, WhatsApp messages and stuff to prove his innocence, or to at least say, look, this woman's saying this, but I've got proof it's a lie. I've got proof that this happened. We know that Antony's done an interview, and we know that Antony is on suspension, but reports are coming out today that we're going to get into that one of the women has retracted her police statement, and more reports are coming out about the fact that Manchester United did due diligence ahead of the Antony signing and did not find out that he had a case ongoing 3 months before he joined United, even though he was at Ajax under 10R, which just shows how bad United are at doing background checks on players. But I also want to talk about in this video a lot of stuff that's going around on football Twitter at the moment. If you don't use Twitter, you probably won't know what I'm talking about. But a lot of fans and people are saying, oh, Bruno and Rashford are the problem at United. United won't be a top club until they sell Bruno and Rashford, which I completely disagree with, because I could name 99% of our squad that are bigger problems than Bruno and Rashford. Yes, Bruno and Rashford are inconsistent. Yes, Bruno and Rashford's play style can be a little bit selfish. And yes, there is downsides in Bruno and Rashford's game, but if we didn't have Bruno and Rashford, we'd be like Chelsea last season, where we'd have all these players, but all these players that can't score goals. Chelsea spent like 600 million on wingers, and they couldn't put the ball in the back of the net because they didn't have a winger that could score goals. People don't like Rashford, but he's one of our only players that can score goals at the moment. And I do want to talk about Rashford and Bruno, some statistics on them, and why I don't think they're anywhere near the biggest problem at United. Obviously, the biggest problem at United is the Glazers, then I think followed by midfield issues, centre-back issues, and I will discuss that in more detail. But I do want to start off by getting into the Antony case, and then I'll talk about Bruno and Rashford. So it was said that Manchester United were that a police report of an alleged assault on a woman had been filed against Antony more than 3 months before the club signed him from Ajax. Manchester United say that they carried out due diligence checks, as they do on all transfer targets, before signing him, but that their investigation unearthed no evidence of any domestic abuse allegations or police involvement. So, classic Man United signing a player, doing all this due diligence and not discovering that he had this sort of police report in Brazil. Surely, I do think in my head, surely Ten Hag would have known, having been at Ajax. Like, surely there would have been some understanding of this, and it just shows the incompetence by the Man United board. Like, no, I like Antony. I think there could be a player in Antony, but we spent 100 million euros on Antony, which I know Ten Hag really wanted him. We didn't even do like this kind of background check on Antony. You just look at it and you go, to be honest, if we had a proper director of football, Antony wouldn't be at this club. And this isn't me going on Antony, but he wouldn't. But Antony isn't playing for Manchester United at the moment, but there is some reports and feelings that he could be coming back very soon. Now, a few revelations have kind of come out in the Antony case. Now, one of the interesting things that was said today by James Ducker is that basically one of the people that filed a complaint to Sao Paulo police in May 2022, which alleged that Antony and a woman, that she was attacked by Antony and a woman after an argument in the car following a night in Brazil. Apparently, it's understood that that police report has been retracted in full. So that police report has been withdrawn. There was 3 women accusing Antony. There were reports coming out that one of them has kind of withdrawn that situation. And there's a little bit more information coming out on this as well. We obviously know the Antony situation. He is obviously on mutual leave with the club until it's sorted, but there are some reports saying that they actually think Antony could be back before Christmas, sooner rather than later. And Antony's obviously believes he's got a lot of evidence to prove his innocence, and he's not been charged or anything. That Greenwood was charged, and that was why Greenwood was out for so long. Antony's not actually been charged. He's just under investigation, and with the evidence that Antony says he has, I think it could be unlikely he's charged unless, there's something on the woman's side that we don't know about. But it was also said by James Ducker that this woman and the other woman in the car accused each other of assault. And this woman initially accused Antony of assault, but she's understood to have withdrawn that allegation. So one of the women that's accused Antony of assault has now withdrawn that allegation. Now, that's one of the women. Okay. And then I remember the United Stand leaked some transcript that had been translated of a phone call between, I think, this woman and maybe another woman that accused Antony of something. And I know another woman that accused Antony of something. There was this leaked phone call, which I don't know if it was real or not, which kind of proved that the other woman was lying or kind of been asked to lie. about the Antony situation for money, which means that 2 of the 3 cases against Antony now have kind of lost their credibility. One woman's withdrawn, the other woman's lost her credibility. So the only sort of situation ongoing with Antony is the situation with Gabriella. But Antony's done an interview and said, look, when I left the hotel, Gabriella's fingers were fine. She didn't have blood on her. She must have hurt herself, all of that. So the situation going with Antony seems to now be the Gabriella case if all of these reports are true. And I wouldn't be surprised if Antony is back sooner rather than later, and if this case gets dropped. Again, I'm not saying that Antony's innocent, but I'm also not saying that Antony's guilty. I generally don't know the facts. I don't know what's gone on. But the way things are being leaked and the information that's coming out looks like it's going Antony's way. But again, I don't know everything. There could be something that comes out and Antony may never come back. Again, I don't know what's going on. We've got to let the police deal with the investigation and hopefully it comes to a fair outcome. But there is a feeling that Antony could be back at Manchester United sooner rather than later. So, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's actually a clip going viral on Twitter of basically Man United fans saying if Man United want to improve this season or go anywhere, Bruno and Rashford need to be dropped. Ten Hag needs to drop Bruno or Rashford to achieve anything or go anywhere. And my honest opinion is this. Bruno and Rashford can be frustrating, but Bruno and Rashford are the only 2 players, and you could say Garnacho when he comes off the bench, that can actually make something happen at United out of nothing. We have no attacking threat. Chelsea had Mudryk, Ziyech, Pulisic, Sterling, all those wingers Chelsea had. Noni, can't say his name. Chelsea had about 50 wingers. But Chelsea couldn't score any goals because none of their wingers could score goals. Sterling actually can, but I think just Chelsea were bad in general. And then obviously their attackers couldn't score goals. If we don't have Rashford and Bruno, there's no one in that attack that can consistently score goals. Højlund has the ability to score goals, but who's going to create something for him without Bruno? Garnacho can score goals off the bench, but he's still young and raw. Pelistri's still young and raw, and Pelistri's output isn't his best. He actually didn't get any goals or assists on his loan move. Pelistri's someone that's really good, but doesn't quite get those goals or assist numbers. And I always look at it, Rashford's like Mo Salah. You know, Mo Salah can be selfish. Mo Salah can cost Liverpool in games with big moments through selfishness. But if Liverpool don't have Mo Salah, they don't have someone that can actually turn a game around out of nothing. Sometimes when Liverpool are poor, Mo Salah goes and nicks it and he scores a goal and Liverpool get the 3 points. And Bruno and Rashford are game winners. Bruno and Rashford are players to me that win games. And I wanted to show you my tweet on this situation because obviously a lot of people have been saying, and a lot of Man United fans have been sort of disliking Bruno and Rashford, saying actually they're a problem at United, all of this. And to be honest, like they're probably, out of all the players we have, they're probably the least of our problems because if we didn't have Bruno and Rashford and we played a front 3 of Sancho, Martial and Antony, I don't think we're really going to get many goals. Martial can't run. Sancho and Antony are inconsistent. While Rashford and Bruno are inconsistent, at least they make an impact. And Bruno and Rashford have actually been involved in 70 out of 100 of Man United's goals last season. So that is like 66%, I believe, which is 2/3 of our goals last season. So we would be like Chelsea, who couldn't score any goals last season without them, I believe. So I don't understand why some Man United fans think they're our biggest problem right now. Yes, sometimes Bruno and Rashford's play style can restrict us in terms of giving the ball away sillily, but we would have possession and do nothing with it without Bruno and Rashford. I think it'd be Van Gaal. Rashford is the only Man United attacker that has goals in him, and goals win you games. That is the truth. Goals get you the 3 points. Yes, defensively, Rashford's work rate needs to improve and his decision-making needs to improve, but at least he can put the ball in the back of the net. You can't say the same about Sancho, Antony. You can't say the same about Martial, Elanga when he was here, Dan James when he was here. Garnacho's young. I think he has the ability to, but not yet. Pelistri, again, you can't say the same about it. Rashford's like the only attacker at United that can put the ball in the back of the net, and potentially Højlund, but Højlund's so young and new. Bruno, yes, he's frustrating at times and he can be inconsistent, but he has the ability to create something out of nothing and change games. We can have games where it's dead and then Bruno gets the ball and comes up with a moment of brilliance. We were 2-0 down to Nottingham Forest and Bruno and Rashford single-handedly turned the game around. Single-handedly. And look, Bruno has something that a lot of our players don't have: availability. Martial, Varane, Luke Shaw, they don't have that. It's a bigger trait than people think, availability. And Bruno obviously works hard. So I said I think Bruno and Rashford are only attacking options that can really make something out of nothing and change a game around, sometimes Garnacho off the bench. And while there is room for improvement from both Bruno Fernandes and Rashford, they were 2 of our best performers last season, so I don't understand why they're being labelled as a problem right now when we've got other ones to deal with. Look, I know Bruno and Rashford aren't perfect, and I know there's improvements that they need to make, and I think, there's things that we can do to address that. But I could name 10 bigger problems than Bruno and Rashford at Man United. The biggest obviously being ownership, but I could name 10 bigger problems in the squad, 10 players that have bigger problems in the squad. Because if we don't have Bruno and Rashford, just thinking, oh, okay, we'll play Sancho. Well, Sancho's a big problem right now, and Sancho's inconsistent. At least Rashford scores. You know, if you look at United, the midfield is a mess right now. Defensively, the midfield's a mess. And I'm actually not going to blame Casemiro and scapegoat Casemiro, even though he needs to do better. I think the system and the setup needs to improve to actually utilise Casemiro better. But we also can't build up a midfield. Amrabat should address those issues, but we're all right from getting the ball from defence to midfield now, but we're not good at getting the ball from midfield to attack. That's a bigger problem than Rashford and Bruno. We need a right centre-back. The drop-off from Varane, it doesn't play as unreal. You know, Kim Min-jae, if we'd have got Kim Min-jae, you know, if someone said to you right now, you can get a Bruno or Rashford replacement, or you can bring in Kim Min-jae, you'd have brought in Kim Min-jae. That's what United need as well. We have 3 right wingers that are absent. You know, we need a right winger. And I said right wing, right centre-back and DM are the biggest issues at United for me. You know, you could even argue right back, but I do like Wan-Bissaka and Dalot. And Rashford and Bruno single-handedly won us that game versus Forest after going 2-0 down. You know, there are very few times we've actually played a game without Bruno and we've been awful. Every time we've played a game without Bruno, we have been dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. And I get, okay, Donny van der Beek can't fill that role, but we tried Fred filling that role. That was awful. When we play without Bruno, we are absolutely dreadful. Everyone knows that. And I generally, you know, don't think we'd do much going forward without Bruno and Rashford. We'd look a bit like Chelsea, who couldn't score goals. And while I know that Bruno and Rashford aren't perfect, while I know that Bruno and Rashford have problems in their game, I don't think we should be saying, oh, Bruno and Rashford are the 2 Man United players that need to be dropped. Because there's Man United players that need to be dropped way more than Bruno and Rashford. When we went 2-0 down to Nottingham Forest, who were the best players? Bruno and Rashford. Who brought us back in the game? Bruno and Rashford. While it was Rashford deserved to be subbed off versus Brighton because he wasn't good, if anyone's going to get you back in the game, it is Rashford and it is Bruno. Like, that is the truth. You know, let's name players that have bigger problems than Rashford and Bruno at United. Okay, Lindelof defensively, he's a good third choice, but let's be honest, defensively, massive drop-off from Varane. You know, the fullbacks could potentially improve. I do like Dalot and Wan-Bissaka, but maybe to go to that next level, we need fullbacks that can overlap. You know, the midfield is a complete mess at the moment. There's a complete lack of balance. Eriksen's very good technically and good on the ball, but Eriksen can't cover enough ground required to play against high-intensity teams like Brighton, and that's no disrespect to Eriksen. I like Eriksen. Antony's inconsistent. Sancho's inconsistent, has an attitude problem. Garnacho's young and raw and great off the bench, but still not quite ready to start yet. Pelistrio's a good young guy. He needs to improve end product and physicality, and hopefully we get more chances. Højlund's young, lacks experience. Højlund, Pelistri, Garnacho, 3 great attackers, but they lack experience. Do you know what I mean? Hopefully, they play more and they have good seasons. You know, but for me, I'd like to see Garnacho on the left, Pelistri on the right, and Højlund up top. I really would. But, you know, for me, I don't think Bruno and Rashford are a problem in this United squad. I think they need to sometimes be less selfish, and sometimes they can give the ball away a little bit rash and be inconsistent, and Bruno can be bad and Rashford can be bad. But if you look at Man United over the last year, our 2 standout performers, along with Martinez and Casemiro, have been Bruno and Rashford in terms of what they've done for United. So they're getting a lot of stick at the moment, Bruno and Rashford. And I think with the situation we're in, the injuries, the ownership, some of our other players have been dreadful this season. I really don't think it's time to put blame on Bruno and Rashford when they're the only 2 players at United that can really create something out of nothing and change a game. You know, maybe, you know, in 2 years' time when we've got this squad sorted out, maybe we have to get rid of Bruno and Rashford to get to that next level. Maybe they bring us back in terms of playing as a team. But they are nowhere near the biggest problems at United right now. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on it. Smash a like, smash the subscribe. See you next time.